She blinded me with science. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Jim George is in the studio. Jim, of course, is the owner of American Cable Services, and throughout the week, we get calls. In fact, we got one just yesterday asking us about the a la carte services that Jim has spoken about. That's where you can order one channel and pay for one channel because that's all you look at is one channel, rather than having to pay for 144 channels and pay, what, $49, whatever that thing is anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good idea. I do think, though, that based on Jim's guest, that we're probably not going to go in that direction today. Jim's guest is Nancy Stacy from the Marion County School Board. So let me make sure everybody's microphone's on. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? What is that? That's your phone? I hear everything in here. That's why I wear the headset. So am I right, Jim? We're going to go in a little bit of a different direction?
Yeah, I was looking last night at the paper, and I saw Nancy Stacy's write-up in the Ocala Star banner about the confusion the school board's having over how to get information from the teachers. And I said, that might be a nice public information.
Yes, and Nancy, thank you for coming in. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, the article. I always wonder when I read an article whether it doesn't matter what publication it's in. I'm always wondering if there's a slant, if there's maybe an agenda that's being adhered to. I wasn't sure on this one, so let me tell you what I got from it, and okay. you correct what I didn't understand or maybe got wrong or something. It sounds like you wanted some suggestion box put up around the area. Sounds like a reasonable request. I mean, we should have one here. I'd love to see what they are. But I mean, in all fairness, everybody's got an idea. I mean, how many teachers, janitors? I mean, you're talking about suggestion boxes in the schools that would be access to the students.
Everybody.
Everybody, okay. And so you were turned down. You were told by
on television,
Mr. Tommen. Am I saying his name right? That you couldn't do that, and you can explain why. Okay. And let me just finish what I think it was saying. So then you took it upon yourself to write a letter. The Star Banner made a point to illustrate that it was a long letter, but you wanted to basically send out a letter to employees of the schools saying, look, if you have a problem, send it to me anonymously. That way nobody knows who you are, but I can still address the problems. And then they got ticked off with you, which is not unusual. You ruffle feathers all the time over there. But Mr. James decided to write a letter. Said, be careful with this one. And then somebody else sent out a letter saying, don't hit reply all.
Right.
Because everybody's
getting a problem.
That became a problem. Yeah, but that's not your fault. That's people not knowing how to use their email. Or maybe they intended to do that.
I don't think they meant to. I think they were just so excited they hit it.
All right, so take it from there. So what did I get right? What did I get wrong? And maybe I even got it wrong. Maybe I read the banner and got it wrong.
They got it right on television. In fact, before the televised board meeting, I spoke with Mr. Vianello, who's head of the, student services and that sort of thing. And I said, I have this great idea that we could put boxes in the schools and the courier could bring them down to the school board office and we could dump them all in a big box. And he said, well, yes, and we could read them then to the deans when we have a meeting and everything. And I said, I really want to dump them all in one big box because I don't want to embarrass a principal. Like if at one school 10 teachers write something about that principal, well, then I didn't want that principal and dean to be embarrassed in a meeting. I said, listen, it doesn't matter where the school came from. If we dump them all in one big box and they read them, that principal will recognize himself, but he won't be pointed out because there won't be any connection to his school.
Well, and it sounds like a reasonable request. And a way to avoid embarrassment would be to pre-read them. I know you wanted it to be kind of fresh and unexpected.
Well, I wouldn't.
But you could have screened them. I mean.
Well, no, I wouldn't have a problem because the principals wouldn't know what principal we're talking about. If you've got 50 principals sitting there or deans or whatever, they don't know who you're talking about. So, the people don't, but that principal knows. And they could self-improve on their own and see how it went for a while. See if they took it upon themselves, they recognize themselves, if the teachers were. My plan was not to embarrass anyone, and that way we could open them up one by one out of the box and say, this is what came, what do y'all think? What can we do to improve this? So he went, and so that afternoon, I thought it was all a done deal. I get to the board meeting, and on my board member concerns, I think that was a part of the meeting, I said, well, we're looking forward to doing this, and Mr. Tommen says, we already do that. We already survey. I said, but this would be a very anonymous. I said, is our survey that we do anonymous? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, and so Mr. Crawford, I think it was Mr. Crawford said to me, I think it's an electronic, I think it's a program.
Right,
So
right.
anyway, the teachers had told me about these surveys already. I already knew about this, but anyway,
And what did they tell you?
that they don't believe anything's
Anonymous.
there.
Oh, because when you send an email, your name
It's
is on
all on it.
Yeah,
In fact, the emails the teachers send me or they send each other are actually public record to anybody that requests a public record. So anyway, I said to Mr. Tomlin, I said, so you won't help me with this? And he goes, obviously he wasn't. And I said, that's okay, Mr. Tomlin. I will do it by myself. I will have the emails come to my home. And I might just read them here on television instead of reading them to the deans.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
And Mr. Crawford said, that might be a fun night or something like that, But so I waited until after spring break and after all the kids had all their FCAT training.
Right, okay.
So they were doing FCAT testing. But the teachers just basically go around and proctor the test, stuff like that. It's not like all the teaching's done. The kids already have all they're going to learn about FCAT in their heads. So I sent them as close to the end of the year as I could to be able to still have some dialogue and stuff. And it amazed me that the teachers union was the first one to get upset. Of course, I did say in my email that the union, it has its place,
Right.
but that we can form policies. For the union to form a policy, to get a policy into our packet, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of bargaining and stuff. I can just get two other board members to agree with me in its policy, So we could do a lot for the teachers easier through me than through the union because the union takes a long bargaining process. And so anyway, now some of the teachers have emailed me and said, actually called me. They're scared to even put anything in email and said, well, it's starting to look like the union is there to control the teachers, not serve the teachers. And so they're thanking me for serving the teachers. But today there's an editorial. Somebody just read me. I haven't read it. And at the end of the editorial, Brad Rogers says, wouldn't it have been refreshing if Mrs. Stacy had said, mail your concerns to the Marion County, mail your concerns to the school board.
Right. Well, you are the school board.
Wait, but instead of to her home. But did he not read Mr. Callahan's article the day before where that was my first option and they turned me down? It's like Mr. Rogers didn't read Mr. Callahan's article or he'd have known that.
That's a good point. Do they just not like you? What's going on? If they had, the little sweetheart, that whoever that might be, I'm not picking anybody, but if they had the class favorite, would they have said, oh, you know what, that's a fine idea? But when you bring it up, they don't.
The class favorite would not have done it because I don't believe a school board member in the state of Florida has ever done it.
I know, but in my hypothetical, my thinking is
they like the status quo. They're afraid. I honestly believe they are afraid for us to improve because then the taxpayers would expect us to hold that. Just like a student, he goes to the bar, a C bar. And if he goes above it, he goes, I don't want to go above it because mom's only holding me to a C. And if I go above it, I'm going to have to meet that next week too. I think the school system likes being in the status quo. That way they can't decline. They can't go up. They just like being there.
So it sounds like the article was accurate. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you did not ask for something unreasonable. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you were denied your reasonable request.
My reasonable request, I was denied.
And I think, in my opinion, in an equally reasonable alternate way, you decided to do it your own way. And ultimately, what you were trying to achieve was to get some honest suggestions from people, from people who actually work with the system, so maybe you would know what needs to be fixed. Not a bad idea. I don't know why they would turn that down.
And actually, I even sent a second email and said, oh, by the way, a teacher just suggested that we do it through interdepartmental mail, which the Star Banner hasn't even mentioned that. And I sent an email and I said, a teacher just suggested this. You could actually send this to my box through the interdepartmental mail and send it to my school board box instead of mailing it to my home if you'd like. And so a few have done that. But what's funny is the ones there I've already started getting them in the mail yesterday. Not even 40,
I'm anxious to hear some of them. Do you want to tell us some of the suggestions?
But the ones that are coming with the envelopes open to the school system are just bashing me. Even took it so far as to talk about my kids when they were in school. And that's, my kids I never even had a discipline referral that I know of. But anyway, and And they leave it and they leave their envelope unsealed,
Well,
so
see,
the
they're just
superintendent
picking on
can
you. They're
see
just
it.
picking on you.
But the ones that are sealed are the ones that are talking the truth. But the unsealed, they purposely send the unsealed, so it's kind of funny. But some of the comments that I've gotten that I didn't know, one of the things that
Do you know, Nancy, if I could just say something real quick before you read it? If you were to touch the hand of the lady to your left, Robin, you would notice that her skin is really thick because she's kind of in the same boat you are, where anybody who decides that they're going to throw daggers at Robin have done it in the past, 20-something years that we've
yeah.
been doing this. And I don't know why. And I think it's you ladies. See, Jim and I, we're kind of immune to it.
No, I tell you what it is.
You know what it is? We yell. Jim and I will yell. You'll just
I have been an
scream.
education activist for 22 years. I'm actually the first local school board member that Jeb Bush in all his many years even endorsed, because he's known me personally for many years. He wrote me a fabulous endorsement. He had never done that for anybody running for school board before. And now he and I don't even agree on Common Core. We're having email
You disagree with him,
disputes
yeah.
about that. I mean, I email Jeb and we have good dialogue, but
But hey, isn't that part of what you're trying to do? And we do it here. We try to have intelligent debate,
well, see, when you're
right? Isn't that what this is about?
But when you're in the system, and they don't like me calling it the system, but I called it the system throughout my campaign.
No, they don't like the little quote things you do.
Somebody suggested I should call it the culture because it's a culture. So they can have culture or system. They can take.
Do you
their
like
pick.
what you do?
Love it, because it makes it makes change, whether people like it or not. It moves you a little further all the time. The reason I've always challenged the system, but the interesting thing, in 22 years, I've had disputes with them about fads. I've disputed the school calendars. Guess who won every argument? Me. Every single one in 22 years. Because if I feel in my, and they call me uncivil. They don't call me not
Who
blue.
does?
Just, they imply I'm uncivil.
But who? Whom are you
Well, I
referring
didn't
to?
sign the civility thing, so the editor did a big thing about me.
Oh, the
not
Star
being-
Banner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because I wouldn't resign the civility proclamation.
I never signed that either.
No. Well, what they consider being uncivil is not going along with the status quo,
Right.
having your own ideas, not being part of the team. Mr. James gets on to me, well, he tries to. He comments all the time, Mrs. Stacy, we all need to be part of the team. And, my opinion is, if I see my squad running off the mountain like a bunch of lemons, I am not going with them. I'm not a lemon. I don't follow the guy off the cliff. We are going off the cliff.
Lemons don't really do that, by the way. That's a National Lampoon made that up.
Okay, but anyway, it's a good thing to talk about, because if you're going to go off the cliff, I'm not going to follow you. If you want to be on a winning team, get on my team. I don't like being on a losing team.
Well, you could be. You know what you're saying is that you have different ideas, and you're an intelligent lady. So what that would tell me, if I was on the school board and I disagreed with you.
I love it.
Okay, and because of my philosophy about debate, that would be an opportunity for you, with your intelligent but opposing ideas, to debate me.
Love it.
With hopefully my intelligent and opposing ideas, and maybe one of us would persuade the other to change, and it would be better for everybody.
I have changed my mind when someone shows me facts. I believe what good old King Solomon said so many years ago in Proverbs: a wise man listens to wise counsel.
There you go.
If someone
I like that.
has wisdom in an area, and I know that they have more wisdom in that area, but I'm not going to listen to fools. I'm not going to listen to fools who have a record of 50 years of failure in education. I'm just not going to listen to them.
Okay, so what kind of suggestions did you get?
Well, I'm getting suggestions, some things that are a bit concerning.
But it's still kind of early.
It just started
Okay,
hitting, and
all
they're
right.
starting to mail them to my house. I'm getting some things, like one lady, she wrote me, she wrote like
without naming
pages.
her.
No, she didn't even put her name. I ask everybody not to put their name.
Okay, but does she say she's a teacher?
Yeah, she's a
Okay.
primary teacher.
A teacher, okay.
So I guess that's like kindergarten to second or third grade. I don't remember what primary is. But anyway, she said that there's a primary book that the kids are required to read, and I got to go now find that book. I wish she had named the book, but she
Okay.
didn't. That talks about a little girl who's it's socialism, basically, starting at the primary level. This little girl wants to go to a birthday party, and her sister wants to go, and her mother makes her take her sister. So her little sister goes along, and she acts up while she's there, of course. Well, and so they both get candy. They come home, and the little sister, she eats her candy on the way home. So hers is gone. The older sister comes home, puts part of hers in the refrigerator. The next morning, the little sneaky little sister, she gets up early, gets in the refrigerator,
Right.
and gets the sister's food.
Right.
Candy. The sister gets up and she goes, well, where's my candy? And the mother says, you shouldn't act like that. You should be willing to share. Nowhere in the lesson is there anything about the sneaky little sister. Nowhere in the thing is that she stole her sister's candy. Nowhere is there anything.
So
that kind of stuff
the
is being planted.
Okay, so the teacher's
very
problem with that book is not that it's a story, but that it's indoctrinating them
message.
into a socialist kind of a
Give what's
philosophy.
just give what you have up. If the thief takes it, he needed it. Is
Now,
basically
and that's
the message.
required reading. Do you know what the
Required
title
reading.
is?
That's what she didn't give me,
All
and I
right,
don't know how to even get it from her. So now what I've got to do is I'm going to contact some of the elementary probably curriculum people or something and find out what primaries are, what
Okay,
books are
okay.
free.
Slow down, Nancy, just a second. I want to dwell on that just a little bit. So, if I knew that my child has to read this book, it's required reading.
Parents aren't reading it.
The first question, I would have read it. I read all my books. When Alex was little, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I would have done. I would have said, okay, I see an agenda here that maybe I'm a little bothered by. My first question would be, not to remove the book, but rather, does the teacher engage the children in conversation about this? And maybe
a book
even
with a different opinion. Have them read a book where it's a whole different thing, where the child is disciplined.
well, just ask the kids, what would you do? Do you think this was right or wrong?
Well, first of all, how could it be right to steal? In our code of conduct,
No. But you're misunderstanding my point. You're talking about a suggestion to remove a book from a curriculum, correct?
No, I'm talking about
What does the teacher want you to do?
What are we doing reviews of the books before we put them in the curriculum for? That book that teaches a child that being a thief's okay should have never entered our curriculum. We do textbook evaluation. How did it get there?
Okay, wait, Nancy.
Who's reading these books?
What is the suggestion of the teacher, I'm
But
saying?
she's just sharing with me what happened.
She's just letting you know.
In other words, these books are slipping through our system.
Okay, so if I were to try to figure out what she's really saying, what's between the lines, since you say she didn't come out and say it, I would say she's suggesting that we don't have that book in the curriculum, right?
Well, she's suggesting that we should have never had it in the curriculum.
Okay, all right. That's
Which I
probably
agree.
the same way of
I agree.
different way of saying the same thing. And I don't disagree. But if it is in the curriculum, then maybe as a school board member, the advice would be to the teachers to discuss the book and not just leave it as if that's the best way to handle a situation.
Well, first of all,
when Jack and Jill go up the hill and fall down with a pail of water, we got to, and break their back, whatever they do.
Yeah.
We got to say, is that a good thing to be doing?
Going up the hill and falling down, right? and it's kind of you're leaving it up to, we teach we wonder why we have so many discipline referrals. Okay, we have so many kids who are not following rules. In our code of conduct, if they steal from someone, they've got these different levels of things that can happen. They can be suspended for 10 days, but yet we're teaching them in elementary school it's okay to steal. It's like, what? No wonder our children are so confused.
But that's a presumption. If you don't mind me debating you, which sounds like what we're doing right here, that's a presumption because it sounds like you're presuming that that's what the teachers are using that book to do. It could very well be that they're using that book to open up this discussion. Do you agree with the way the child was treated? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the classroom.
And what she told me, too, she even talked about, what's written in the sides of the books and stuff, with the teacher suggestions, how you're supposed to lead these books.
Right.
She said even in the sides, it suggests things that are just totally not appropriate for a teacher to be leading the children into.
Well, probably. I don't disagree. I'm sure she's right.
We have a...
But as the teacher, does she have the freedom to engage the kids in some kind of a discussion that might actually contradict the intent of the book?
Oh, she has the freedom, but it's just according to where you are philosophically. If you're on that 50% side that's philosophically believes everybody, votes one way, and 50% believes that you work for it,
right.
It's okay. It's just according to where you are philosophically. And I don't believe we should lead anything by where we are philosophically. I think we at least should back up our code of conduct and
Okay, but-
have stuff that supports our code of conduct as reading material.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful discussion, but in the context of the article in the Star Banner, it sounds like you achieved what I as a parent would want. I would want suggestions from the teachers. I would want books that were in question to be questioned. Mm-hmm. I would want the freedom of a teacher to be able to say, look, I'm not comfortable teaching this book. That's awesome. That is wonderful. That's why I really do support the bottom line reason why you're here, which was to create a suggestion box network, I guess you would call it. I don't know. But I think you would get some really good suggestions.
In fact, I got another suggestion from a teacher that's in ESE, and she spoke about the Encore system. So it wasn't really about just content of books and stuff. I mean, I had a lot of interesting stuff about the way we're doing things. And she was an ESE placement teacher or
Can
something.
you help me out with that? What does that mean?
ESE, the exceptional students, that have learning disabilities and stuff like that. And she said the tremendous cost of the Encore system that we're using to complete the IEPs online is a tremendous unnecessary cost because the Department of Education has their own system that is half the pages and has been tested for 10 years and is cheaper, easier to run and everything. We're doing Encore. But the interesting thing was that yesterday at our school board meeting, which this teacher sent me this 2 days ago, but at the school board meeting, they had Encore. It's about to become obsolete or something. It said we're not going to be able to continue that because next year, it's the end of whatever. And I said I said to one of the board members, that's interesting. That's what a teacher talked to me about. So the teachers are right on track. I mean, had I done this last year, we'd have known this about Encore last year. But we've used it all year. So now we're saying we have to hire more psychologists because all this workload. Well, if we're spending twice as much time running a program that we could go to the Department of Education and maybe get almost for free, then compared to what we're paying for this, of course we need them if it works twice as much. I'm getting great information.
Wow, there's no debate there. Okay,
I'm also
that's a good one.
Great information about in our schools where we've removed positions last year, certain types of positions like testing coordinators at the schools and stuff. So the school board thinks we got rid of that position. Now I haven't checked this out. This is alleged. That at one of our high schools, and I know which high school because she told me which high school, that all they did was they kept that person in that position, but they staffed them as a teacher, but he has no students. So now I wonder how we're reporting it to the Department of Education.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm getting some really...
See, that's good stuff.
I'm getting really good stuff. So we have a teacher at that school that us school board members think that there's like 25 kids sitting in that high school room,
right.
and all they did was they were sneaky, allegedly. Now I have to verify this, and I'm going to go in and talk with the administration about it, that they just moved this person to a new title called teacher and let them keep doing the same thing.
That's a really good one, yeah. And I think the intent of what you're saying is really outstanding. And I like the fact that you're a strong leader. I love the fact that you're a strong woman because I think we have the status quo for you ladies. And this is why I say Robin had to have a thicker skin than Jim and I, because you get picked on more than we do.
Because women are perceived as being
going alongers,
and
you're not, and Robin's not,
and peacemakers. But you know something? I'm sorry. Who was it, Jim?
Don't apologize.
There was a woman. There was a woman leader that kept sanity peace among the Jews for 40 years. And no other man's leader of the Jews has ever kept
She must
peace
have been
for 40
hot. That's
years.
what I
Who
say.
was she? So, I mean, and look at Margaret Thatcher. I mean,
No, I'm teasing.
And so, I don't know.
I agree with what you wanted to do. I think it sounds reasonable to me. It doesn't sound expensive. It sounds reasonable. The fact that you did it your way when they didn't want you to do it the original way.
Which made more sense to
and
do
then
it the
picking
original
on
way.
you because you had an alternate way, that's kind of insane.
Because they really think when they get a school board member, they like to have meetings with them. They all get in cars and drive around to the schools. They take the new school board members if the school board member wants to go, and they introduce them around. And it's just part of the buy-in process. There's something that happens when you get a title that some people it just goes to their head and they think they're special. I don't think I'm special. I truly believe I am a public servant.
You are, and you're doing it well. I think you're doing it well.
I am not someone special. I had someone tell me one time that the school board members are very important. And I had a school board member tell me that we're very important in the schools. You have a lot of power, Nancy. And I'm like, I have a lot of power to help people. I have more power to help people.
That's it.
This
Yeah,
board
yeah.
member on the board actually told me I was very powerful because I was a school board member in the schools, that people will look at me differently. No, I go to the school and I work side by side by
Well,
that
good
teacher.
for you. I really do support you.
Thank you.
We had a little debate there, but it
Oh, I
wasn't.
love the debate.
It wasn't about anything that would knock you off of what you were trying to do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim, for bringing this.
You're
to
welcome.
Nancy
Thank you.
Stacy. We've got to go to Fox News.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. In South Korea, authorities now seeking a warrant for the arrest of the captain of that ferry boat that sank on Wednesday.
Lee Jun-suk is being questioned by investigators. They know now that he wasn't at the helm of the ship when it began to list. It's believed the captain delayed evacuation for up to half an hour, possibly condemned